really not care about humans running over the road.
Maybe in the future there's self-driving, which is maybe problematic in its own right because it's
so they're definitely not observing the three laws of robotics then, because they're certainly doing a lot of harm if you run onto them.
And so are the Omnics in this game as well, especially if you're playing Zenyatta, but we are playing a decent amount of fire right now. Both teams are going to come out with the exact same composition.
Ooh,
and no victorious to be seen. It's going to be Yom1 and Assassin starting off for EXL.
Yeah, we see Lucio and Mercy for both of these teams as they clash on the Spire in the middle. Diva's going mad in midair, just trying to snipe someone with those micro rockets.
Medic going down early, no assistance unfortunately from the rest of his team, and Judo will be quite happy to collect that kill, gets himself demeched in the process. So for Machi, they do want to utilize this one healer advantage they have, but also they're lacking a lot of damage output, and Chloe's taking advantage of that.
A nice sound wave kill there onto Staphagen, and we are seeing Machi there get first control of the point there. Haven't got it, you know, they might have it in name, but they certainly don't have it in character. We're still seeing a lot of poke around the sides, and EXL, as soon as you say that, will grab a couple of kills back. Speaking
of characters, there's a lot of personality coming out from EXL right now. One trade does come through Shui onto Chloe, but it's the only one in their name so far. An aerial duel that Assassin's going to win eventually. And for EXL, you got to think eventually they will also cap this point as well. Burst going to go down, no res available. And suddenly for Machi Esports, 30% plus is going to be very good, but EXL now have control.
Yeah, you see Medic there, happy to keep the damage boost onto Assassin, so they have faith in him. Faith in his ability to win out that Pharah duel, because of course if the other Pharah is being pocketed, getting the heals from the Mercy, you do need those 2 damage boosted rockets to punch through that in a row.
Here's the other thing, because Machi Esports were very, very keen to try and stall out that point, they fed a lot of members, and with that, EXL now coming up to 6 ultimates, they have a huge lead. You're expecting them to win this next fight with flying colors as well, if they can execute.
That's it, Machi almost coming up to 5 or 6 of their own now, and with that first pick, that's a very important one. The sound barrier ready for Chloe, but Creative, he won't have that option.
Assassin taking down Leo right now, gets responded to from Judo.
Ooh.
Yom1 though, the double kill, that's going to do it for EXL. Certainly Machi will not have a response here. First used a Valkyrie, no sound barrier just yet for Creative. No more members either, 42%
Valkyrie?
and climbing. EXL-Esports taking the lead for sure.
Sure how late the Valkyrie went out in that fight. Medic, I don't think needed it there. Perhaps it, you know, didn't see the double pulse bomb come through just yet from Yom1, but Burst doesn't have his either. It's going to be the battle of the sound barriers here. Coming onto the point is Machi.
It's also going to be Sweet taking down Assassin. This is going to open up his own rocket barrage. Note that one of the key counters for a Pharah rocket barraging is the other Pharah into the sky, and now with the mech down for Gabolshi as well. Who's even going to be there to stop Shui? Shui and now Machi Esports are getting such a huge lead that maybe he won't even need to use the rocket barrage. Indeed, he will be able to save it. Chloe on about 1 HP, doesn't last in there. Creative getting res back and Machi swing it back around.
That was interesting. It almost felt like there was a very early eco call there coming out from EXL, because they had the sound barrier ready to go, but Chloe wants to hold on to it for that next fight. And Melon, he used the Primal Rage there just to try and stall out the point a little bit faster. So it felt like they were like, okay, we've lost the fight. Let's just grab a bit of extra percentage and then move on.
They're going to need a few more percentage points here, or indeed a lot more percentage points to catch up to EXL. But they should be able to do that within one clean fight if they can get that fight victory, if EXL do not cap over. Juro with the double kill certainly should spell the doom right now. Melon going to take a dive into traffic. Teammate Gabolshi will join him there, and then straight off the side. And EXL-Esports, they do reset very quickly, so they should be able to contest again as quickly as well. But it does mean now that Machi will likely equalize in terms of progress.
They do get back up onto 83 each we see right now. There's a fight left for Machi Esports if they can claim this one, and they do. You see them hiding at the back here, waiting to initiate this dive from behind and catch them off. They want to grab this Mercy.
Medic's close to the Valk right now. You'd expect Chloe to maybe sound barrier for him. Stafferton's going to clean him up beforehand. And now the sound barrier onto the remaining 5 members does, in fact, though, allow Assassin to at least get 2 kills. The counter barrage is going to pick up Assassin. But so far, you got to say it's still very even. EXL, with that early sound barrier, has given them a lot to use. 99% it is overtime. We're seeing quick hero swaps. Medic coming back as a soldier. Full dive now coming up from EXL. Assassin undecided. And for Machi, they're attempting to hold on.
Yeah, and going back to the spawn and switching off the Genji to the Pharah. I don't know if Assassin has time to do this right now. Not when Machi are on the point. They've got that sound barrier coming out. This is going to allow them to get a little bit more aggressive. Leo trying to hunt someone down in the sky. They don't have the hit scan DPS to do anything else to take down that Pharah, but they do get it. Judo will snipe them with the rockets.
Now suddenly the kills are coming in slowly for Machi Esports, but importantly, they are coming in. That's a lot more said than what EXL can achieve right now because they're not getting any kills, they're not getting any trades, and they certainly need trades if they want to swing their point back around. They need a lot more. Shui picking up Melon as well. Suddenly not very members alive. Yom1 looks low. Gebelshi has no mech. It's just Assassin and Medic, and they will not be enough to continue City Center. What was initially a pretty decent lead after recapping the point. EXL-Esports could not continue that lead enough, and Machi Esports, once they regained control of the cap, note that they capped first, Machi pushed it all the way to 100.
So Machi coming out with the first point. We will now move on to Gardens. This, of course, has been a very Pharah-dominated map in past times, though we do sometimes see an Orisa come out. You know, they try and bunk it down, sit on the point, and you know, just block the Orisa out completely, perhaps with a Hog, a Hulk combo, something like that. Doesn't look like we're going to see that. Both these teams happy to stick on the dive, though we do have a Brigida coming out from Gebelshi.
Orisa Hog probably a little bit too slow for this map. No one wants to take that risk. What we do see sometimes is the McCree, but again, no one wants to play that one today. It is still going to be Yom1 on, the Widowmaker here to try and challenge Shui into the sky, give Assassin some additional cover. Gebelshi onto the ground as the Brigida trying to challenge maybe Statford, but it's Chloe. He gets a decent amount of sound wave kills, and this will be his second of the game.
And with a lot of help from his friends here, it does look like EXL have a good chance to take out this fight. Not getting the confirmation there onto Shui. Finally, it's the Winston that takes him down, interestingly. And Stapagin's going to have so much trouble trying to dodge the rocket flail here from Gebelshi, as well as play around that shield bash.
Well, Leo is doing a decent job staying alive, but he's also doing a decent job giving ult charge able to go over to Gebelshi. And EXL happy to collect that as well, as much as they're happy to collect that progress onto the point. The early cap coming through for them. And it's not quite lights out for anybody, I'd say, this early into the game, but you do start to see the EXL composition come out to play. Again, they are running themselves a Widow plus a Pharah. Sorry, they're not running the Widow. They're running a Pharah and a Brigida, and you're seeing the Tracer come out from the other side. And so a lot of Gebelshi's job this game will be trying to shut down the opposing Tracers, such that, in fact, they are running Widow to give their Widowmaker the chance to really pop off.
And you've got to hit the shots so quickly here on Gardens, right? You do not have long sight lines to play with. You have to hit those shots almost immediately, or the Pharah can just dive on you, or you know, the rest of the team will do that as well. It's very tough.
Well, let's head back to the map. Now, I believe the pause has finalized, so as you sort of said right now, we are seeing Statford kind of struggling to make it back to his own team. Right, there's a lot of EXL members surrounding him. And the kills start to come through, so nothing too exciting here. It's just EXL cleaning up house.
Very aggressive of them, though, to get that far up in the opponent's neck of the woods there. And they bring their axes. They come back now, though. We do see Shui pushing them a little bit. Judo, though, doesn't have a mech. He's either going to have to get off the map or switch off and lose all the ultimate shards just to change back into the Diva suit.
Machi Esports, you're looking to see what openings they can really get here. Note they're also behind in ult charge, so EXL with a decent amount of advantages. You'd expect them to have the leg up into this next fight. But Assassin going down early.
Oh no.
Not in a great position for Medic to res as well, and suddenly Shui's going really hard onto Yom1. Yom1 going to have that one kill, but I don't know about this.
It just seemed like that whole time they were waiting for Judo to remech, and then Judo dies just as he's about to get it back. It was a complete waste of time there for Machi Esports, and they don't have the time to waste with 75% here. EXL looking good on Gardens.
I gotta say though, EXL were pressured to use their ultimates, so what they had backed up, they had to withdraw. And for Machi Esports, happy to give those ultimates away because they have now got the ultimate advantage. They are heading into what is potentially a very dangerous position for them because we are into the 90% mark now. But for EXL-Esports, they don't have the same resources. They should struggle here if Machi can really execute. And so far, losing one member in a position that's hard to res. As you can see, Burst was punished there. Machi have actually only barely now have a player advantage after that rocket barrage, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, Shui gets the high ground, second to pop the barrage, gives him that second mover's advantage. He's now able to cap the team over for his point, and Machi have got a lot of work to do. 99% against them here. Stafford's going to have the Infrasight the next fight. This will be great if he times it. Maybe even an early pick. He doesn't actually want to wait to see where EXL pop out of. He's just going to push in and look for something. So getting spotted out by the Pharah though.
The good news for Machi here is that despite the fact that they're very far behind on Gardens, they are still 1 point ahead in terms of this Oasis map, which means if we do go to University, it's not the end of the world, but they would like to end this 2-0 now. They're going to have to do a lot of catch-up work to do so. EXL with a long flank around. Just a sound barrier to use in this next fight, but there's one extra sound barrier over Machi who have no ultimates whatsoever. Staffordson did start onto this Widowmaker for this fight as well. Here comes that sound barrier hitting all 6 members. Rally coming into play, but instantly shut down. Creative, that really hurts. And suddenly 2 members are already gone. Judo's going to try and get the self-destruct. It has to be a miracle. He's got to collect a ton of kills for Machi Esports to be able to rescue this fight right now. Opposing rally from Gabolshi coming into effect. No self-destruct kills, and EXL look like they might clean this up.
Yeah, with this barrage coming out now from Shui, that's Machi's opportunity to stay in it. He does manage to grab one onto Assassin, but with that Mercy now getting hunted down, this is looking pretty good for Machi. Melon turns around though. It's a great response from the tank player. Leo's got the Primal Rage out, and he's going to shut him down. Not letting the Monkey do any more work there.
Somewhat surprised that Medic hasn't quite used the Valkyrie just yet. You'd expect that EXL should be very committed to winning this fight right now. With those kills coming out, Medic has definitely seen the writing on the wall, looking to end this quickly and swiftly. Those are the same things, I guess, and Machi, well, it means the same thing for them also. It means they're not going to have a lot of fun right now. The cap did go through halfway down the overtime ticket. It does complete, which means we're going to University.
The third control point will be required to split these teams as we're deciding who gets the first map here. I mean, we said it was going to be a pretty close matchup, right? Machi versus EXL, they're pretty much tied on the leaderboard now if you just kind of place your hand over the map score portion of the screen. And by the end of tonight, it could go either way.
Map score only matters if you're actually tied in terms of match scores, so
just win the games, man.
The difference is here is that EXL, despite having a 0 on their map record in terms of advantage, if they just beat Machi in this series, I mean, it doesn't really matter. That map record doesn't count for too much. So EXL, eyes on the prize here. Did get themselves the Gardens win. Now need to convert also onto the University.
So looking at University here, 2 Ryans coming out, 2 Zayas as well, but we do have the Pharah coming on top, which is so great at dealing with these heavy compositions.
So good read by Machi to be able to run Shui onto the Pharah to start things out with. But the EXL-Esports running the triple tank, triple support Goats composition. Do take a lot of ground early. That's the advantage of this ground-based composition. A lot of heavy firepower. Oh, that's Leo being caught out too soon as well. Not enough support coming through to save his life. And for Machi Esports, they need to get value out of Shui because the cap's already gone through.
Yeah, you see them. They try and take the high ground there. They've got the McCree and the Pharah. These are 2 heroes that are going to excel if you can get on top of the enemy team. EXL, though, they managed to get that first pick on Leo, and from then, there's just free fire damage going in to Machi. So well played by EXL. They are going to lose someone to the Pharah here because they've not got a lot to deal with. And Shui can go in. It doesn't matter if not all of his teammates are there. He's happy to just push in and get some damage off.
He's doing a lot of damage right now, but not quite enough damage to collect more than 1 kill, and that's a bit problematic for Machi Esports. Deadeye will also fly nothing, and now it's time for EXL to swing backwards.
No way.
That being said, though, nice hit shot from Staffordson onto Gabolshi on the opposite side, prevents the remake from coming on through. The Coalition to buy some time for EXL, but similar to Staffordson's Deadeye, doesn't get enough value to actually swing this fight for EXL just yet.
A sound barrier now though from EXL. When you consider that they haven't given up the point yet, this is a good opportunity for them to finally push Machi off. Machi have been on there contesting for a long time, but so far they've got nothing to show for it.
Oh, you can see the combo attempt coming out from Machi's Judo. The Graviton Surge being used there, trying locking up EXL-Esports. And for Shui, 99% on the Rocket Barrage. Dies just as it hits 100%. Does not connect the Rocket Barrage to the Graviton Surge. That could have been the combo for Machi Esports. Now the barrage will come through, but it's not going to do enough damage. EXL still can maintain control of the point. And for Machi Esports, 1 kill now, they need more.
Yomwon's now switched onto the McCree, actually. He's given up that Zaya on the side of EXL. Wants to take on Staffagen 1-to-1. The high noon comes out, but nothing is achieved with it.
Well, Shui does go down, so Yomwon's swap has been rewarded with a kill. And the most important kill, the 1 kill that EXL really need. The one guy that's been really a thorn for them right now, Yomwon, with the second onto creative that only equalizes things up with EXL-Esports. What they do have right now is at least point control, 99% over time. It doesn't look like they will be able to hold this one because Machi Esports, they have the players, they have the ultimates as well. And for all EXL-Esports, the one thing they have is the progress.
Finally, Shui able to get enough done there on the Pharah to flip it over for them, but it was such a long time coming. It feels like he's been in the sky permanently. Yomwon sure has been able to take him down once, but I don't think it's been enough damage from coming out from Shui, frankly. I mean, it seems like he's done so much, but he needs to do more, especially before the point where he was going against the McCree, and there's really no counter to him. So they finally do flip the point over here, and they've got that Graviton Surge to work with. Combine that with the Earth Shatter, it should be a fight win for Machi here.
They've also got it to work with in terms of the barrage as well, but the barrage isn't quite ready. But the Earth Shatter, like you said, was Leo goes down, Melon goes down, but for that, Machi Esports still have roughly the player lead currently. We're seeing some pretty even trades. So far, no team really coming out massively here. That's the combo we've been looking for so long. And Assassin takes
enough done.
It may have gotten just enough done though. Machi Esports still have a Transcendence into play. You see Melon though, Earth Shatter has to back out. EXL-Esports have been on this new composition for at least 1 fight now. They're not too interested in having to play around Shui. They want to take the fight to Shui. And for that, Assassin needs to be able to match him in the skies.
Just by the skin of their teeth, Machi managed to hold on to the point there. The healers in the back, propping up the tanks on the point who not really doing any damage, just staying still. The Deadeye just manages to go shy of getting the Mercy here.
I believe the Earth Shatter did come down from Melon, and with that though, EXL-Esports collecting a decent number of kills. The cap is starting to look very good for them, 99%. No one can touch this point. It is over. EXL-Esports 2-1 on Oasis, clutching that one through. And it had to start with Gardens, picking up themselves the win there. City Center wasn't very good for them. And for Machi as well, a tough loss. But unfortunately, when you do consider how things panned out there, the fact that Machi Esports did lose those original fights, started with a 0%. EXL had a big lead on a number of those control points, and for Machi Esports constantly needing to play catch up.
They struggled to get back into it there. That's 1 down for EXL, 2 to go if they want to take out this series. Now, it really did seem like they couldn't deal with the GOAT's composition very effectively there. I mean, the Pharah is the perfect counter to it, right? But you also need to be able to take some damage. And we saw EXL just get so up in their face. And despite all the damage coming through, you got 3 healers. That's a lot of support coming out there. And unless you can focus on one target and take them out one by one, you're not going to chunk through that.
So the good thing there for EXL was, despite Shui being on the Pharah, when they were running the GOAT's 3-3 composition, they were kind of mostly playing for the 6v5 onto the ground, or even the 6v4, because you also had the Mercy there, mostly standing with Shui into the skies. So for EXL, they knew what their win condition was. They knew they had one way to sort of take that, and they played that ground battle very well. Shui kind of put them in the ringer a little bit. You did see the impact from him, enough so that Yomwon actually had to change onto the McCree. So I think for the most part, EXL did have to respect that pick, and eventually when EXL lost the point, they themselves completely gave up on the GOAT's comp and played their own fire to come through for the next push. So there was some difficulty there from EXL, but they managed to claw their way through, and they managed to maintain control of the point long enough to get a big enough progress advantage.
Yeah, it feels like maybe the McCree wasn't the pick there for for Machi Esports. Obviously, the Pharaoh was getting a bit done, but then you've got this McCree kind of sitting back there. What's it doing? Like flashbanging the Rhine out.
That was a bit poor, unfortunately.
Yeah. He really needed to find his spot in the team composition there, because really the only other option is that the Pharaoh just like kills all 6 members, like actually just dominates, because you can get a bunch of damage.
Or gets enough damage to allow the rest of the members to kind of clean up. But you know,
but how much like healing ultimate is he feeding there? Because if he's not getting any pickoffs, then really all you're doing is charging up a coalescence or a sound barrier.
I gotta say, they're also charging up their own ultimate, so it kind of goes both ways. Right? You're charging the support ultimates on the opposite side. You're also charging your own damage ultimate, so there is a bit of a trade-off there. That being said, though, at the end of the day, it did seem to be a bit of a struggle on both sides, and you'd expect EXL to maybe struggle a bit more, like you said, because they ran that GOATS composition into the Pharaoh. And it was also Machi starting out with the Pharaoh, right? Shui kind of read that. He said, look, if there is going to be GOATS coming out from EXL, we will be ready to counter it. It's just unfortunate the McCree pick coming through wasn't good enough. That's the Machi side that says, okay, we want a bit more insurance policy here. We are concerned that there may be a Pharaoh on the opposite side, so we will also run a McCree just in case. And unfortunately, one of those picks really worked out, the other one didn't.
Yep, I mean, what would the switch up be there, do you think? Could you replace that with a Brigida, perhaps? You know, not run your own GOATS composition, but have a 3-healer composition where you've just got that damage from above because you know it's not getting replicated? There
is a good argument that perhaps you see, you know, Machi run a full Orisa Junkrat style, or maybe not even Junkrat, you know, the Rissel Hog style with the Pharaoh, poke damage, really play for the disengage, really make EXL work for the ground, force them to take a lot of damage, and then while they're weak and then push back in. That would make it very difficult, but again, it's a lot of hindsight coming into play there. Machi wanted to play...
That's what Scrim's for, AVRL.
That's what they wanted to play a more jack-of-all-trades kind of style of composition that wants to be able to deal with everything in some sort of fashion, but doesn't specifically counter out one thing well enough.
And I think the other benefit from playing the Orisa Hog composition, as you said, if you're playing the pharmacy there, you know, the Mercy's in the sky all the time. She could be your main source of healing, but no, it's damage boosting the Pharaoh most of the time, right? So you're just stuck with your Zen, your Lucio, whatever else you've got on the ground there. At least if you've got Orisa Hog, you've got more shield uptime, so you're taking less damage that way, and you also have the Hog with a take a breather, and that just you know, takes a little bit of the stress off your second, you know, your flex healer there. Exactly.
But I do want to see now going into the next map, you know, what is Machi's ability to bounce back here? We could see them take us to King's Row. You obviously want to see a Bastion come into play again. I want to see that for the reason of I'd like to see if EXL can handle it appropriately. I'd like to see if EXL can find the correct counters, which realistically shouldn't be too hard. If you know it's coming, you should be able to position well for it.
And that's what we talked about last week, right? It's a surprise factor tactic. And if you've had even a week to look over this and just have a little bit of practice, tell your scrim partners, hey guys, can you try and run a Bastion and let's just practice a couple of dives on it. It's not that hard to beat, honestly. If you know it's coming and you've got a pre-prepared strategy, it's not the best strat, guys. I mean, Shui, you're a gun mate. I love the Bastion coming out. You did a fantastic job on it last week. But if your team the other team's prepared for it, it's not going to work.
If only scrim partners would actually do that for you. I think that most scrim partners probably wouldn't do that.
have any of these teams got a sister team that they can just...
Well, that's the thing. You would need a sister team to do that. Please be our guinea pigs. But for the most part, most scrim partners be like, no, we need to practice what we need to practice.
Just trade it off. Like, you guys play Bastion, we'll play, you know, whatever you're having trouble dealing with at the moment.
But no one should have trouble dealing with Bastion. That shouldn't be a thing.
Wow, last week disagrees.
Yeah, well, last week...
proof's in the pudding, AVRL.
Last week, teams should have responded better.
At least by the third point, you would have thought. You know, point 1, it's like, oh, surprise. Point 2, like, oh, the reality is setting in. Point 3, come on, guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's the 3 phases of grief right there, 4 phases being reduced into 3. So there is some delay currently. I believe there may be a server issue. So we did see that kind of connection loss at the end there. So hopefully that gets resolved in a short moment so we can get into map number 2. But I do want to story these teams a little bit more in the way that currently EXL do have the lead. And for some time now, it's taken us till week 4 to see this matchup. But going to week 1, not too sure who's good. We kind of said Monster Shield Korea are probably favorites in this group, maybe mega favorites because of their past seasonal experience, past years worth of experience. Right? Monster Shield come out pretty strong, looking pretty good. Other teams, yeah, they're looking okay, not too bad. EXL, yeah, decent start, but we need to see them tested. Going into weeks 2 and 3, EXL, we're starting to think, oh, they just beat Monster Shell Korea. Surely this is the best team now. They then lose, I believe it was to Talon, if I'm not incorrect there. And so you're thinking, oh, this is getting a bit weird now. So, okay, well, Machi certainly is the best team. Machi then lose as well, and you're like, okay, now this is getting a bit weird again.
Is it possible to have 4 favorites? Is that a thing? Is that mathematically possible?
Can you
Someone run the numbers for me.
Can you have 12 favorites and contenders? Every team's my favorite, and right now Kings are being picked up as the second map revealed here.
And why aren't there more rainbows in the maps, you know, while we're at it?
Why isn't there more rainbows in the maps?
This is just our happy outlook on life, you know, 12 favorites. Everything with the Diablo 3 style, you know, rainbows and unicorns everywhere. That's the kind of world I want to live in.
Well, there's a game for that. You can play Diablo for the very special level in that. But right now we're here to play Overwatch, so let's head into Kings Row to get the second map underway. As a reminder, EXL lead the series 1-0. 2 maps away from completing this one. 1 map away from getting to match point. Machi need to find a response.
Machi, they drop a map now. Their back's against the wall. They're going to be first to attack here. And we are going to go back to that 1 healer setup. It looks like AVRL. So this is what we were talking. I mean, it's not exactly what we were talking about, but the same principle applies here. You've got that Roadhog here. It allows you a little bit more flexibility with the Mercy. Being able to play a 1 healer composition. It also provides you with a ridiculous amount of damage, okay? You've got a Roadhog, you've got the Orisa pumping down the Fusion driver there, the Hanzo throwing out the Storm arrows. I mean, doesn't matter which way you try and get through that point, you are taking some damage.
I'd like to also point out, when you look at the Machi side of things, if you're wondering why Judo's on to the Sombra right now, likely it is a scouting run. He's going to place a translocator in spawn, run invisible to check out what the defense is, report the findings back to his own team, and then Machi will respond from there. But it looks like the scouting mission's already over. Yep. Statford might have already confirmed things, so they're not going to do that. In fact, he has.
Yep, so that's it's going to take a quick peek there. I mean, there's no surprises there. At this point, during the meta, you have to expect an Orisa 1 healer composition.
The other thing you can expect in the meta was Statford was changing between both the Pharah and the Widowmaker. He's looking to reset this concussive blast so he can knock the EXL members off. What he has achieved, though, despite not knocking them off the point, is that they are forcing EXL to rotate while Machi themselves make a rotation.
And Judo's already got a bunch of charge here on the point here, glowing. That's some beauty cream he's using.
Shui's got a little bit more than that even. He's gotten himself a kill onto Assassin nonetheless as well, quickly rezzed up by Medic. But currently, the point has been opened up. EXL have been opened up. Their members are going down very quickly. They've lost all positioning, and that's kind of the weakness of that defense. If they do not have positioning, if they do not have their backs into a corner where they can be protected, where they can shell themselves up and bunker down, that defense falls apart quick.
And now, however Judo managed to get that energy, I feel like that was the key, because once he's right below them at the phone box, at that point he can just chunk down those shields. He can be throwing the explosives blasts over the top and doing a lot of damage.
That's the advantage of running a Zarya into a Junkrat. When the spam comes out, you're happy to eat the spam to get yourself some energy. And for Machi Esports, they have energy, they have ultimates, they have cart pushing now underway, and for EXL, I mean, EXL had to change composition, so they're a fair bit behind.
And I do like how Machi have pushed up here, ready with this massive energy to take account there of EXL going down into the Graviton Surge. 100 energy will just punish them instantly. And just look at this, Leo continuing to take space away from EXL.
For Machi Esports as well, 5 ultimates about to be anyway when Creative gets his, about to be online, and that's a huge number of ultimates to be able to use when EXL, again, have to freshly swap their compositions, have to freshly build. They're already fighting onto C, meanwhile Machi is free pushing.
Did we get to point 3 without me noticing, AVRL?
Oh, I mean, somebody got to point 3, and that somebody is a lot of people on the Machi side, 5 of them to be exact. Ultimates they can freely use. You'll play these ultimates because you're probably not going to run a firearm to point C anyway. And this is all just free push. EXL are not even going to be able to touch this cart.
Creative's just tweeting right now. His alt tab on the cart there. Pushing it in, no worries. There we go. 2 points, and they're already trying to spawn camp them here. EXL cannot be feeling happy about this. They're on the double snipers, and at least there's a bit of high ground here on the 3rd point to try and get this back under control.
And Leo was the only member that went down. Mind you, while all the spawn camping was happening, you'd expect Machi to eventually get pushed back because you'd expect that EXL eventually pick up a decent number of kills. That decent number of kills results to only one. That is not good enough. And now for EXL-Esports, they still have not taken control of the cut. They still have not stabilized. Now they eat themselves a Graviton Surge.
Got the Trance.
The Trance is available and will save a decent number of members. It was a scary moment though. Melon misses the Earth Shadow, unfortunately blocked out by Leo. Leo could still respond, goes down to Gabolshi. So right now, Machi, they are losing too many members. And with that EXL, with that clutch Transcendence from Chloe, I should say also just well-timed, being that he had it available when the Grav came down. EXL survived, EXL stabilized.
And creative there. He actually pulled out the Transcendence, and it felt like maybe that lent a false sense of security to Leo. He was a little bit forward. He's back into the fight already, though, so no harm, no foul. He's got the Earth Shadow ready to go as well, and on the back of Judo and Staffagen just destroying EXL. Looks like Machi might get a record time back here on King's Row.
Yeah, stop it now, please. Machi Esports are still pushing on through in EXL. They don't want any more. They want the pain to go away. The pain is not ending just yet. The Dragon Blade comes down, and Shui is going to deal that punishment out there. Earth Shadow collecting Assassin, and any member that survived the initial Shadow will go down anyway. The cap goes through, and Machi make it look easy. That entire B point was not even existent.
Dude, Judo's, his average energy there must have been in the stratosphere. Like
he didn't die, so yeah.
80 plus probably, I reckon, throughout the whole day. That was an incredible amount of damage he pumped out right from the moment they capped point A. And as you say, point B didn't exist. I mean, the camera wasn't on it because the only time it was even remotely relevant was when Creative was pushing it in by himself.
The man's playing PvE on the cart on point B while the rest of his team pushing into the fray. And because they had such a huge string of ultimates, they had 5 ultimates while they were pushing through from B. And only 5 because one was used earlier on to even get them through B to start with. And for Machi Esports, they had so much mileage, they had so much economy control, and EXL had nothing in response.
Creative thought he was playing the Uprising thing there, right? You know, there was that bug where you could just sit on the end of the second spawn and none of the PC opponents would spawn. That's what Creative thought was happening there. He was like, oh, EXL must be bugging out, it's just not spawning. Little does he know, his team is keeping them at bay on point 3 there.
Well, that Genome sounds like Uprising easy mode to me.
Oh, I would never have abused that button, not me.
And
my high scores are legit.
I'm saying easy difficulty in terms of they selected the easy difficulty here. That being said, though, in any case, Machi now with the defense. And as a reminder, there's only 8 minutes in the entire attack in total. You get 4 for the first point, 2:30 for the second cap, and another 1:30 for, rather, the 1:30 after capping B. You know how it works. And for Machi Esports right now, sitting pretty on this defense, 4 minutes and 02 in the time bank.
And they basically played a whole point 5v6.
Yeah, well, that's again, that's what ult economy does for you right now. Machi going to run a similar defense to EXL, just minus Roadhog. It is double healer, so they are respecting, or they're at least considerate of, the power of the Transcendence here. The power of the pick potential coming through very highly as well. Doesn't even need a hog to combo with that ult.
Nope, he does it all himself. Staffagen going for some pretty looking hook kills there. Doesn't actually find any. Now we do have them just bunk it at the top here. How Machi got around this, of course, was getting that Zarya charged up. Yomwan not doing that at all. He's not even at 10% charge yet, struggling to get any, even though he's going up against the Junkrat of Shui.
Well, that's part one, right? Part one is kind of get some energy your way, but the other part of that is also forcing Machi to rotate, forcing Machi on this defense to reposition themselves such that you have a positional advantage. So for EXL, they're kind of attempting right now to do that. They're going to go for a very long flank, unfortunately going to lose a member along the way, so a 5v6 now, going to have to wait for Assassin to come from spawn. And also, that's going to mean that he's going to come from a different opposite side. They can make it work for them because what they have done also is they force Machi onto the ground. So you'd have to say maybe step 2 has been completed, but EXL have to commit.
Look at this rotation. They're playing a whole 18 holes of golf here around
the
back before they actually get onto the point, but they're finally going to go in when they get a nano boost onto Melon with a great charge onto Leo. He'll shut them down, and it looks like they've made par.
Well, they got there eventually, and I guess that one's a hashtag worth, but at the same time, It cost them nearly 2 minutes to complete that one big rotation and finally commit onto the point. And during that sort of time, Machi Esports had already completed their own attack when it was their attacking phase earlier on. So EXL already behind the 8 ball in terms of the at least time going to time bank here. If they now can get this kind of early push going forward to get some momentum and snowball, maybe they can push into C quite early.
Yeah, it's Machi's game to win right now as they form up their second point defense here. Gablshi on the back line there with the Diva, takes a little too much poke damage from the McCree and has to fall back. We do see a Transcendence ready on the side of Creative. He's got that to deal with this Dragon Blade or perhaps the Earth Shatter.
So the Earth Shatter did come down and Melon got a little bit too tricky over there, decided to jump in anyway, does buy himself and rather his team enough time to go in, and as Assassin, Yom1 and Gable, she push in on the dead body of Melon. Machi Esports called their pants down, caught without any good response, gonna get wiped off this B point right now for EXL. Maybe they can continue this, maybe they can push into C and get a bit of a spawn camp themselves.
Yeah, it really felt like the Valkyrie could have been the good thing to come out there at the start. The Transcendence, that's what they needed for the Graviton Surge. It would have saved them there. Nevertheless, they do have the sound barrier ready to go here. Just trying to make sure this Reinhardt doesn't quite get onto the point as they get into the very last stages. Ooh, stunned out of that nano boost.
I mean, he's still got the nano boost, so that's a good news right now, but that one hurts a little bit more for Machi Esports. Dead Eye coming through. Doesn't quite find anything so far, finishes that channel and doesn't get the prize. Gablshi, though, will find himself the prize that he's looking for. Gets himself the kill to Leo, gets Rez back in, though, so no one really getting a huge advantage right now for Machi. Still attempting to rescue this point, still attempting to continue. Transcendence available. You got to think if Machi really wanted to win this one, maybe they'd be forced to use it.
Machi looks like they can get the better of this despite a very nice biotic grenade there from Chloe. They are going to push back. It's at least going to put Chloe in range for the nano boost for the next fight. We've seen it go on to Melon quite a lot here, but perhaps they've got the combo here with Assassin. The nano blade could be it, but Creative, he's still got that Transcendence.
And as of the 2:32 mark for EXL's attack, they can now no longer match the time bank for Machi Esports, but they can attempt to actually get to the time bank. It won't be easy for them to do the time bank or
now
get
they're
the
stuck
time
up
bank.
here.
But they got to do it. They got to make this attempt to really count. They have an ultimate advantage. Assassin is nearly onto the blade. The grab comes out from Yom1. Where's the follow-up? Pulled off the high ground of Statvagen, but still managed to find himself the kill anyway. Creative counters out the trance with his, or rather counters out the Dragon Blade with his trance. Statvagen counters out Assassin with his gun. And for Machi right now, countering out the entire push from EXL, they use ultimates into that one, and Machi responded with a no.
McCree keeping the peace there. He wants none of that nano blade action. You actually saw it just popped onto Assassin just a little bit before he got the blade out, but the last couple of shurikens, he immediately whips out the sword to no avail, though. Stunned into oblivion. I think it was first by the shield bash and then possibly even with a follow-up flashbang. Either way, he was in the same place for long enough for Machi to kill him. And this is getting very troublesome now for EXL. With only a minute 30 left, this is a hard position to push past.
I gotta say, EXL kept it very competitive and got the advantage on Oasis, but right now it looks all Machi all the way. They had a great attack. This looks like a great defense. They don't look like they're giving it up just yet. They don't look like they're even going to have it breached anytime soon. And anytime soon might be closer than EXL think. The Earth Shatter did come down, no kills collected. Melon, though, with the double kill and the fire strike grab coming through from Judo will do nothing, unfortunately. Creative now maybe has the potential to save this point. And I say possibility because the Transcendence does come out. Note that Shui died in mid-rally, so that one's not going to really come through. Transcendence, though, gonna be able to allow Statvagen to push up, and with that, collect the counter trades necessary to continue the defense, but EXL are also not falling back until now.
Gablshi needs to stay alive right now. He's got a lot of charge, and if he can maintain this into the next fight, maybe they've got one last chance, especially coming up onto that Graviton Surge. If he had gone down there, it would have been disastrous because Judo is maintaining his. Battle of the Zayas here. Wow, Statvagen getting zoned out there. A lot of damage, but immediately he gets help from that repair pack from the Brigitte.
EXL don't want to deal with that Dead Eye, at least for the time being. They want to use their own Dead Eye when the time comes. And would you look at the time, it is high noon right now, despite it being midnight in probably London. And EXL, well, both McCree's not going to find any luck, and look at that, Assassin now coming into play. Grav was used by Gabolshi. You talked about the high energy he needed to save. He had that, he had the Grav, he had the combo, and Assassin pulls through. EXL in overtime will get the B cap.
And you've got to give them so much credit. Look at this. They've managed to hold on to the Transcendence and the Earth Shatter. It was the last fight, AVRL. They had to win it, yet they didn't commit everything. That takes a lot of patience.
Takes a lot of discipline, takes a lot of knowledge of how far you can push yourselves.
A lot of confidence in your team.
Without giving away too much right now. Assassin on one, by the way, both changed heroes as Melon slammed the Earth down on top of Machi, but Machi are not deterred. Picked themselves up a kill into Melon and Assassin, losing only Shui in the process, but that is enough kills to force EXL back for the time being.
So they've only got 45 seconds left. If they do get the cart to the end here, it's almost certainly going to be in overtime. This is going to make impossible defense almost. They'd have to defend the first point for 4 minutes. I think the much more likely scenario here is that we see a hold from Machi. But it's not a good start with that, with Shui going down and no Hanzo available.
Well, Assassin going to be quite pleased with the deflict kill there. And EXL, certainly no excuses now, right? They have the 6v5 to work with. I guess the one thing they don't have is at least the ultimate advantage, so Machi should be able to make use of this. You'd expect this to happen sooner rather than later. Judo now looking for an angle, 70 years charge, make it 80, sucks in a bunch of members. Transcendence coming up from Chloe as well, so make sure that so far no one from EXL is dead. Shui with the Dragon Strike, a little bit too late to affect this fight. Machi losing Leo as well means no Earth Shatter until he respawns, but it may be too late for that to happen. Kart will continue pushing. You've also got Shui in a pretty precarious situation, goes down to the blade from Assassin, who now is looking for more targets. Finally, the Earth Shatter comes down, but where is the follow-up? We're not seeing enough kills. 2 now kills coming in. It might be enough, but also it might not be enough because EXL are still in this fight. Assassin, as long as it's here, is still into the fight. The cart is still moving. Is it possible for EXL to finish right now? That's what we're looking for. Is it possible for Machi to still hold on to this? It's looking unlikely because there's just not enough respawners. I think EXL taking us to time bank.
Oh, Machi almost pulled that off there. There were some sick bubbles coming out of Judo, especially onto Leo, allowing him to get a really good charge and almost make that happen. But once the high charge energy Zarya goes down, you're in a bad spot there. So they do lose it out, but as we said before, it's still an almost unwinnable situation. Holding out on Kings Row first for 4 minutes, well...
it's been done. It's been done before.
Myself?
It's about EXL giving themselves a possibility, and that's all you can really, that's all you can really hope for if you are EXL at this stage. It's certainly better than going down without having gone to time back. And I want to say, without having gone to time back is the way Machi would have preferred it. They had the ability to full hold on C. They had the ultimates to play with. Let's remind ourselves that Graviton Surge came out. Dragon Strike was way too late for Machi. Following that, Leo died with the Earth Shatter. A number of mishaps for the Machi defense that allowed EXL to pull through.
It's a laundry list, but they need to be a little bit cleaner than that if they want to.
Get a refund for that laundry.
Yeah. Straight back to the dry cleaner. Okay, EXL here on the defense, and they're going to have to deal with
okay.
that unbeatable of strategies.
To mentally prepare myself.
Bastion.
Well, this.
If anyone can pull it off, it's Shui. Once again, they go around the left side. We saw them do this last week. They want to hide it until the last possible moment. They're going to chuck the Orisa shield out there. And, well, there's... Oh, no.
I do want to say, and by the way, it's now very doable for Machi Esports with that player advantage. But if EXL can somehow hold on to this, if they can beat this composition right now, which is happening because we went down, then EXL can really snowball this defense. They can collect a lot of ult charge, and suddenly for Machi Esports, it won't be looking too good for them, losing far too many members right now. Shui already having been forced onto the Pharah, then decides to go onto the Brigida, and suddenly EXL, with that one stabilization, with that one defensive fight win, might just give them enough of an advantage. Look at the ults, compare them, EXL are definitely ahead.
Yeah, they didn't get a huge amount, right? Medic and Chloe on it hugely ahead in support ultimates, and they are some of the important ones going in here. The swaps, of course, are going to make that tough, and Shui trying to bash this Winston down and lock him into place.
A lot of low members on EXL there, but Yomwon does connect with the pulse bomb onto Stanfordgen. That's going to make things difficult. Burst wanted to go for the res, but he wanted to go down a little bit more, and that means that EXL collect the rest of the kills. Melon went down, but he's the only member to go down. Medic might not even have to res him. Consider now that Judo is going to get staggered, which gives Melon some time to walk back to the point, allowing Medic to save a res for another member. We talked about ultimate advantage previously. Back then it wasn't very big, now it's a lot better.
It is, and every minute they waste is one that makes it easier for EXL-Esports, but losing Assassin with an undisciplined play like that is certainly not. Now this is Machi's time to go in. They see that Genji kill, and they want the rest of them. Assassin with the res will actually come back and get creative here, and he's making a real difference off the back of that. The second chance at life.
It's going to make enough of a difference that Machi have to go back to spawn, and maybe wish they didn't have to res creative there. You did also see Medic cash in on his bonus heal after not having to have resed Melon previously. Resed Assassin, who came in, got a string of kills. Melon himself, you got to question his ult usage there, being that he didn't use the ult and died without having used it. Relied on Assassin to save the game. Right now, though, I don't think EXL can afford a second mistake like that, and certainly Assassin's going to make sure that there's not going to be a situation where a mistake like that can come out of. That being said, though, he needs to find kills. And nothing with the blade, like you said, is not going to be good enough.
But he does manage to get the Mercy down after that. Once again, Machi just really not able to find their feet here on King's Row first. Shui will start the comeback, though. Stanfordgen taking him down. Yomwon, and all of a sudden there's an opening here for Machi. 4 minutes, it was a very long time, and perhaps they needed almost all of it here to cap out point one. They only need that first tick, and it's getting very hard for EXL to sustain on the point right now.
EXL had no right to chase after those kills. They did not need to go for it, and right now they are struggling to contest again. The Transcendence will buy some much needed time. The Pulse One will buy some more, but with that, more members of EXL went down, and Machi Esports in the time bank at the final hour, despite having such a huge 4-minute 0-2 time bank. It took them until that final push, and they nearly didn't get it, but wow, EXL, we go back to King's Row C defense. Machi, you think, should have full held C. In time bank, I want to say the opposite, and that EXL should have been able to full hold A with the kind of lead they had. They just unfortunately threw it away because they chased after kills they probably didn't need to.
The odds are so stacked against you at that point, AVRL, with 4 minutes. You can't have a good defense. You can't have a great defense. You need to have a perfect defense to survive for 4 minutes for one tick on point A of King's Row.
Exactly. I mean, 33%, that's, you know, one mistake will get that fully capped up for the opposing team. I do want to say, though, that has now evened up our series, though, so this could have been much worse for one of our teams. But for EXL, the lead on Oasis has allowed them the slight buffer of losing King's Row, which has allowed Machi now back into the series. It's going to keep things interesting. This is 2 matches so far this evening that has gone 1-1 in the opening 2 maps.
You know what I did like is that they really backed themselves there. I mean, sometimes we've seen a team take a time bank like that and they just sit on the point. They're like, oh no, we have to play there the whole time. They play scared, they play in Orisa, but really, EXL backed themselves. They were like, no, we're going to just play normal and win out these fights. And that's, you know, how they managed to get that snowball at the start.
Let's also consider that if it was a shorter time bank, and it very well could have been, because a 4-minute 0-2 time bank is pretty considerable for an attacking team. The attacking team should not be able to get a time bank.
Usually if you get a time bank of 4 minutes, the other team isn't finishing the map, right?
That's probably true. So when we look at the scenario and we think, okay, well, EXL defended like 3+ minutes there. A more standard time bank, a more acceptable time bank for Machi Esports from around maybe 2 minutes, even 3 minutes, actually wouldn't have been enough. That would have been EXL definitely full holding in time bank, but just not going to be the case today, Genome. And with that, I think, actually, we do have a slight replay, if I'm not mistaken here. This was Assassin in sort of the final moments. Oh, we just get to see one slash there, so yeah, good enough.
It was a good slash.
It was a good slash, I'm glad we saw it. But yeah, again, point still stands. You know, I think we could have expected EXL to have completed the time bank if Machi had a more reasonable time bank to start with.
Yeah, it wasn't though, was it? It was a very, very. I mean, it was
unreasonably high, 4 minutes 0-2.
And they didn't do it with the Bastion this week, did they? It's a completely different strategy.
And that's probably a good thing. It sort of shows that EXL had a little bit more prepared. They see the Bastion, they think, okay, well, we're not going to allow ourselves to just get taken apart by this. They jump on him, they take him down, and look 1-1 in the series. We are going to go to a quick break, though, because it is halftime now and halfway through this evening. But when we come back, EXL versus Machi will continue. Both teams at 2-1 in terms of the standings. Who's going to make it on top? Who's going to win? Find out after the break.